Hi there guys, this is Tumbling Tigerz. We are talking to Callum Macintyre today. He is our Lone Hill, Four Ways, Sunning Hill, Rivonia and Midrand Kyle Army franchisee. Today we are going to get to know the franchisee. I'm going to be asking Callum a couple of questions that we've got over here, and he's going to give us some amazing answers that hopefully will give you guys as franchisees benefit. So Callum, welcome to the podcast today. Thank you very much for coming.
Thanks, Dan. I'm pretty excited to be here. I'm pretty excited to share some of the knowledge that I have, and I hope that it can help everyone else in the business.
Brilliant. And that's exactly what we're looking for. Callum was very nervous for the interview, as you can imagine, and this is our first podcast. So we're going to try and make it as light-hearted and fun as possible and try and give you guys as much value as possible. So a little bit on the history of your franchise with Tumbling Tigerz. If you can give us a background from when you first were introduced to Tumbling Tigerz and the steps that followed to you starting.
Okay, so this journey all started in 2019. I met Daniel and Shani at the St. Mary's Open Day. I was working for a different business at the time, and what really drew me to them was the actual stand that they had, with all the branding, all the color, all of the equipment, but really more how they interacted with the children and how the children were responding to them. How the children were reacting to them. So I chatted briefly with Daniel and Shani that day a bit more about the program, and what proceeded from there was me just thinking about Tumbling Tigerz non-stop for the next 3 to 4 days. And to cut a long story short, at that time I was going through some difficulties with the business I was with, and I decided that Tumbling Tigerz is a lot more suited to my skill set. And I then phoned Daniel, we set up a meeting, and from that point on I then joined the Tumbling Tigerz family. And in terms of being a franchise owner and actually running a business has always been a dream of mine from when I was in university. One of the modules that I was studying was entrepreneurship, and I always knew that running a business was something that I wanted to do. And when I heard that the possibility of becoming a franchise with Tumbling Tigerz was open, and more importantly that the Four Ways area was open, I immediately began to formulate a plan as to how I can get the money together so that I can buy the franchise and put that dream into action of actually running my own business.
Nice. And yeah, we should have charged you more for Four Ways, because that's a flipping gold mine.
It is a little bit of a gold nugget.
How quick did you get your return on investment? And what was your initial term of investment?
I started with the junior franchise, which was a cost of 80,000 Rand. I had that money from selling the portion of the business that I was running beforehand, so that was easy for me to pay. The balance of that payment, which was 200,000, I then loaned from my fiance and from my mom, and I was able to repay back that entire loan of 200,000 Rand pretty much within 14 to 15 months.
Brilliant, brilliant, man. So now I'm going to start with a few of the questions, and let's get some interesting answers. So let's start with the spark. What drew you to Tumbling Tigerz as a franchisee in the first place? So we've kind of already answered that, but what stood out in your mind that made Tumbling Tigerz special as a program and as a brand?
Well, firstly, as a program, I studied personal training and I did a diploma in sports management and development, and Tumbling Tigerz encompassed both of those facets. So I was able to express my knowledge in terms of the fitness industry to the kids, but also was able to have the opportunity to run my own business. So that was the very first thing that was very, very, very appealing to me about the business, was that I was able to tick both boxes. And as I said earlier, it's a lot more suited to my skill set. But the real big drawing point was meeting you and meeting Shani. You and I have a lot of similarities. I also have lots of Shani. We play netball together. You and I play golf, and you just seemed to be people that I could get along with really, really easily. And what became very apparent super quickly was the support that you were willing to give me. And that was the big changing factor from what I previously experienced with the previous company versus joining Tumbling Tigerz. Was I wasn't doing this alone. And many businesses that start do operate alone, but I never, from the very beginning to this day right now, have I ever experienced the feeling that I am doing this by myself. And all the guidance, everything that has been brought into Tigerz since I have joined the business has been astronomical. The whole company has changed in 6 years, and it's just moving forward. And it's very clear to me that the company has on its own has a very clear vision, and that is something, and also the ethics, and that is something that aligns very closely with my own.
Oh, thank you. And it comes from my experience as well. We've all had a bad boss. We've all had a bad job. We've all been mistreated in one way or another, whether it's in our head or whether it actually happened. But I tried to make a business where those things changed, where if you were passionate about sports, that you weren't going to earn a low income, that you could actually make a passion about something that you loved and earn real money doing it. So that's kind of what I always wanted, and what I try and do with Tumbling Tigerz is to put in development that benefits others, not only benefits ourselves. That naturally comes as the business grows, but if I can make sure that everyone else is earning money and feels important and is important and has a purpose, more importantly, that's what I try and grow the most with Tigerz, and it's been a recipe for success going forward. And I'll continue to do that, to try and add value to my franchisees, but most importantly, the children as well. Next question. What's been your absolute favorite Tigerz moment with the kids so far?
Well, there's two moments that really stand out in my mind. Both made me feel exceptionally proud, and one is personal and one is for the business. So the first one was at the end of last year, at the end of 2024, when we had our prize giving at Redham Waterfall, and we got all the kids together to take a photo at the end, and we really struggled to get all of the kids into the picture. There was over 100 children doing it at that moment, and in that moment there, I just can distinctly remember feeling super proud of what I had achieved at a very high profile school. And that further got better the following year at the parent meet and greet, where all the extramurals are on show and all the parents come out, and many parents came up to me and said, I don't need to speak to you, we've already signed our child up for this year because they had so much fun last year. So I knew then that the job I'd done the previous year before had set me up for the year ahead, and that made me feel like I was really achieving something. And the second memory is one of the best things that's ever happened in my life. It is truly an amazing story. So it was also at a prize giving, and in 2023 I started at a school called Jonesfield Pre-Primary, and it's out in Midrand, and I did the demo on my own, and to be honest with you, it was a very challenging demo.
Yeah.
And I knew that the lessons going forward that year were going to be very difficult. So as the year went on, I began to phase in one of my best coaches, Gabriel, and he took over the lessons for the last few months of the year. So fast forward to the prize giving, there was 11 children registered, and there was about 25 to 30 family members present, from grannies, uncles, they were all there. And I was very nervous for this prize giving because I wasn't entirely sure how the kids were at that point. Yeah. And what proceeded to follow absolutely blew my mind. The kids were so waxed. They knew the names of all the movements. They did everything to the best of their capability, but the sheer enjoyment on their faces is what really brought a tear to my eye. And it was one of the first times in my life I'd really cried for pure enjoyment. Yeah. And I then looked over to the parents, and all of them were crying, laughing. They had their cameras out, and they were really, really enjoying the moment. And at that moment, I realized the impact that Tigerz has, not just on the children, but on the families as well. And that moment was really big for me because I had stepped out of the school and one of my coaches had stepped in, and it gave me a chance to see the phenomenal coach that Gabriel had grown into and the amounts of work that he'd done with those kids.
Nice. And believing in your staff, believing in them, trusting them. You might be biting your nails and worrying about it the whole time, but giving that trust to a staff member, it makes them feel appreciated. And when they knock it out the park, even more so. And as you say, it can bring a tear to your eye, because it's you're seeing the growth. You're not the only special person that cares about the business. You've actually transferred that passion to another person that's not only passionate about it, but is earning properly from the business and has now made a career. Like, we both know Gabriel, and Gabriel can be Gabriel. Gabriel can be Gabriel.
He can give me headaches, but he solves a lot of problems at the same time.
But this type of environment is made for it. Dare I say, we like the SPCA. We take in these people that didn't get a chance somewhere else. We identify talents that they have within them, and we nourish it until they actually turn into something that their friends are looking at them and saying, where did this come from? How did you become so successful? Because we didn't ask a fish to climb a tree. We found what they were good at and we placed them in the right place, and now they add value to the children. They add value to the brand and to themselves. So on that note, how do you keep your coaching team motivated, especially on those high energy back-to-back class days?
So motivation is a bit of a tricky one because it's such an intrinsic feeling. And the reality is that a lot of people in the world, most people in the world, are actually very selfish, and everything that they do for the betterment of their own life or their own life of their family. So the best way I found to motivate my staff is to incentivize them. And I do this by telling them that they have the possibility at every single one of the schools that I run to level up and become an area manager at that school. The more time they spend on building the relationships with the principal, with the teachers, with the receptionist and the parents, and growing the numbers, the more impressed I will be. And at some point down the line, I will then hand over that school to them. And at that moment, all the hard work that they have put in at that school, they've now received a school that has a flourishing number of children. They have a school that believes in the brand and the program, and they have a coach that they trust. And that is the case across the board. So every single school that they work at, I know that my staff are going to put 100% in, because there's a very high possibility that down the line they are going to reap the rewards for the coaching that they put in at that school.
And what sort of incentive would you put in? What sort of percentage incentive, or what sort of incentive would you offer?
Well, so for me, I do it on a 70% basis. So all of my staff have the capability to run a school at 70%. So they're earning the large portion of each child's monthly fee. This percentage is calculated after the tax, the VAT, the UIF, the PAYE, the royalties, and the pay stack fees have been taken off. So it's not quite 70% of the 300 Rand fee.
No.
It's slightly lower than that. But they know that they are getting the Tiger share of that money every single month for that child, and it's an incentive for them to get as many kids to register as possible.
I like that, the Tiger's share. Stuff lines.
No, stuff lines.
But that's incredible. That's an employee can earn 70% of what the client pays. Let's say after the taxes and stuff, call it 60%. 60% of what the client pays. No other company in the world gives that sort of incentive to the staff. But what Callum is doing is he's growing on numbers. He's growing large numbers of children. His staff are getting the lion's share. He's taking a percentage from it. And now that creates stability, because if that staff member messes around and loses a school for you would have the right to then take a school of theirs back to equal value. And
Exactly.
this creates accountability.
Exactly. Like we had an issue with a different coach who received three different complaints from two different schools. One of the schools happened to be his, that he is area managing, and at that point it was the third complaint of the same nature, and we took that school away from him. He had no earnings from that school for the first 6 months of this year. This happened at the end of 2024. So for the first 6 months of this year, he worked basically for free at that school, and I kept all of the income. And it was it was to make an example of him as well to all the other coaches, to say that this is something that can happen if you don't uphold the standards that we are looking for. And it's not something that I enjoyed doing to him. It didn't feel right, but at the same time, you need to set that a precedent so that all the other staff members, and himself included, know that we have these rules and boundaries in place to ensure that we can keep offering the same standard of service across the board. It doesn't matter what school that they're working at.
And did he improve his service?
100%. I haven't had a complaint of that nature this year from any of the schools that he's at. And the one school in particular at Kira Bryanston, that's where two of the complaints came from. I've been in communication with them the whole year to find out what's been happening with him, and they say he is a lot better, he's a lot more relaxed, he's a lot happier, and they are happy now to have him at the school. And they keep saying that they're happy and they're glad that we sorted out that issue as quickly as we did.
And it's important to let the schools understand that coaches are human, and they might have problems that are going on at home, they might have financial problems, and not to judge Tigerz as a brand based on the service of a single coach. So my saying that I always have is, just because the waiter's bad doesn't make the restaurant bad. So if you have these relationships with your schools that you can explain to them about what is going on, they do understand that we are only human. So building relationships with schools is vitally important. So every school has its own vibe. How have you built a strong relationship with the schools you work with?
Okay, I love this question because it's been the key to how I've built up the numbers in my franchise over the years. So I place the biggest emphasis across my whole business is how I build relationships with people at the schools. I make a huge effort trying to get to know every single person in the school, from the groundsman right up to the principal, on not just a work basis, but on a personal basis as well. I invest a lot of my time and I go above the call of duty to try and help these people in any way that I can, really. And to give you two very brief examples of this, the first one was with a lady. Her name is Angie Abesadenhout, and she was a teacher at Kira Douglasdale when I was working for my previous company, and her son was interested in playing golf, and I got to know Beckham really, really well, and I was coaching right outside her class, and I ended up chatting to her every single week. And to cut a long story short, she then moved and became the principal at Kira Aurora, which is the flagship Kira school. And she said to me, at that point, I just joined Tumbling Tigerz, and she said to me, I don't care what you are doing right now, I just want you working at the school. So I met with her, explained the whole thing about Tigers, and from that point on, we were in Kira Aurora, and that has now created a ripple effect. I don't know how many Kiras we're in around the country, but
like
it's
25 Kiras
around the country. So that small relationship that I built with her son and with her unlocked the door to us being in Kira. The second one was working is a lady called Kelly Ira, who is now the head of the extracurricular development at DIBA. And I met Kelly at the Early Bird, the Parks branch, where she was the principal there. And I was coaching there every single Wednesday, and I got to know her really well. And her and I actually started to become really good friends. And then she asked me if I'd like to offer Tumbling Tigerz at her children's school, which is Jonesfield Pre-Primary in Midrand, which is the school I mentioned earlier. And I said we'd love to. And she was at that prize giving that I was talking about. And she said to me afterwards that she has never seen her children so engaged and so happy and so focused for that length of time, even though it was only half an hour. And she saw there the absolute benefits that Tumbling Tigerz has, not just on mainstream children, but on remedial children as well. So those two connections that I had, and now with Kelly, sorry, just to say as well, she has now helped us get into all of the DIBA branches as well, and DIBA is heading in the same line as Kuro, and it's becoming a huge brand. So just in building those two relationships, I had no idea where they were heading, but that has opened up so many doors for me, and it has been the absolute cornerstone of how I've built my franchise and working with these people at every single school, because you have no idea who you're going to meet or where they're going to end up, whether it be a parent or whoever it is at the school. Everyone is the same, and I try and treat them all the same.
Exactly, and giving that respect to people, giving that respect and going that extra mile because it's the right thing to do, not going that extra mile because you might gain something, putting in that extra effort, and that's kind of where I find the franchisees need to nurture their coaches into not just being employees, to going that extra mile, to taking that initiative to help the teacher pack up if they see that the teacher's struggling with something, if they see that the class is out of control. Put your kit bag down and go help that teacher a little bit. These tiny little things of just being a good person, just being a nice person. Tigerz is about integrating into your communities, becoming part of the school, becoming part of the family, not just being an external service provider. If you make yourself robotic or just arrive, do the lesson, pack up, leave, you dehumanize yourself and you become an object, or you become a service provider, and it's very easy for them to decide to cut you out or no longer use your service, because you are not Callum, you're not Daniel, you're not a human anymore, you're just a function. And we don't want to just be a function. We want to integrate into the schools and into the children and into the lives of everyone that Tumbling Tigerz touches. Parents can be a big part of the journey. What's your approach to creating trust and excitement amongst them?
So this is a pretty easy one. And for the whole, I think any parent, all they ever really want to see is that their child is having fun, that they're enjoying the program, they're laughing, they're making friends, and they're building a strong relationship with their coach. I think if you can achieve that for the most part, and that is related to your staff, if your staff are able to carry that across in every single lesson, for the most part, your parent base is going to be very happy. The second side of it is the business and administrative side of things. And I have a rule in my franchise that no query, email, phone call, WhatsApp, whatever it is, gets left for longer than 24 hours. We pride ourselves on the speed and efficiency of how we respond to issues and queries that parents have. And I often get answers from them thanking me for the speed of the response. And to put it into perspective, we have parents who will email us and 5 other extramurals at the start of the year. And when I get those emails, I reply to them instantaneously because they are now shopping around looking for what they want their child to do. And I provide them not just a 1-paragraph answer. I give them everything that they need to know about Tumbling Tigerz, and I give it to them first. I know I've responded to them before any other extramural, and in their mind they see this and then they see what they get from everyone else, and we already got in first and have given them everything that they need to know. So in providing a great lesson, as well as ensuring that the administrative side of it is done efficiently, that way I can ensure that my parents and my client base are as happy as possible.
Exactly, service to the clients, because when you're a parent, you're sending your child to school, they're doing these different activities, you don't receive communication as much as you'd like or feedback, and when you get responded to extremely quickly, or when you have a question or a query, no matter what time of day or night, and it gets answered in a friendly manner, you're blown away. So I've recently spoken to all of the franchisees. There was a restaurateur and his entire staff, they went to the fanciest restaurant in the world, and their staff noted how the wine and how the food and how everything was done so beautifully. And the owner of the new restaurant that they were going to create said, I don't care about that. I want to know what they didn't do well, because it's the things that they didn't do well that the client base notices. So the service needs to be excellent. The food needs to be excellent, but try and look for those little details that you can add to your business that the other extramurals aren't doing. Poor communication, not getting back to parents quickly, and when they do get back to parents, it's a very short, snippy answer. If the parent asks a question, it might be a silly or a repetitive question, it might be in the flyer already, but you answer with a friendly attitude, because remember, we are in the service industry. You are here to help. You're here to facilitate an experience, not only for the children, but for the customer and for the school as well. So please keep in mind your service levels, because that's exactly what Callum is talking about. And this is why he's at 1,800 plus children at the moment. What has been your biggest learning curve moment since you started your franchise, and what did it teach you?
So this is a tough question, as I think there are many answers to this.
Many learning curves.
But I think the biggest thing I had to learn was how to manage my staff effectively. I had never managed people before coming to Tumbling Tigerz, and learning how to manage staff was something that I had to do as I went through the process. And our coaches are effectively the image of the business. They are the ones that are on the ground every single day. They're the ones that interact with the kids and the parents and the schools, and ensuring that I have coaches that are very well trained, who look the part, they look neat and professional, and they carry those ethics through. That is when I started to notice the real growth in the numbers, was when I started to employ people who were motivated and happy to be there. And I think that is something that I had to learn how to do, was trying to nurture people to try and operate in the same way that I do. Obviously you can't have 10 Callums or 10 Daniels, but you need to have people that have the same goals and vision in mind, so they can carry that out in their actual day-to-day.
Yeah. So Richard Branson basically got asked by a reporter. The reporter asked him a question and said, how did you build not £1 billion business, but multiple £1 billion businesses? And his answer was straightforward. He says, you need to have a vision that is crystal clear. You need to understand that vision perfectly. Then you need to hire the correct people Then you need to give them every possible thing that they need to do their job properly, and you need to make them see your vision just as crystal clear as you see it. And finally, you need to get out of their way. So once they are resourced, they are the right person, and they have a crystal clear vision of your vision, you need to get out of their way. So Tigerz is a staffing business. It is not an extramural business. You need to focus on your staff. You need to find out about their home life. You need to make sure that they are happy, that they are well paid, that they are well resourced, and you will have an absolute gem. Because Richard Branson also said it, look after your employees and they'll look after your customers. And that is how you grow massively in any business. So try and take some of those tips through your life and work it with your business, and that's how you're going to move forward. Can you walk us through a typical week in your operation? How do you manage your classes, staff, logistics, and admin? This is a big question, and guys, this is an extremely valuable one. I would take out a pen and paper right now. I would tattoo this onto your brain, because this is how Callum has done it.
Okay, so this question can be answered not by what I do weekly, but what I do daily. Because what I do daily, I do every single day of the week, Monday through Friday, and most Saturdays. I reserve Sundays for myself. But this is the routine that I follow every single day. So I wake up at 5 o'clock, and the first half an hour of the day I spend reading a mental self-help book. These books help me create a vision and help guide me to starting my day with the right thought processes of what I want out of that day. Following that, I do 15 minutes of yoga and stretching, and then I do a 20-minute meditation period. And during that meditation, I think very deeply about the kind of person I want to be, the kind of day I want to have, and how I'm going to treat every single person I come into contact with that day. When I come out of that period, I am very focused, and I'm in the right mindset to start the day very productively. So that takes me to around 6 o'clock in the morning. From that point, I go and open up my laptop, and the very first thing I do is I allocate payments that came in the day before. I use an auto payment allocation system by exporting a CSV document from my bank statement that I upload onto the capture transactions page on Swool. And I do this every single day to ensure that parents are not receiving overdue notices, that they aren't waiting a week for that payment to be actually allocated. But what it does is it saves me the time of not having to manually allocate each payment. And this whole process takes me 5 minutes to do, because when you upload it and the parent's account code is there, it picks up the account code, it automatically allocates it. If they've used the name John Doe, for example, you'll have to manually do it once, but the next month that they use that payment reference John Doe, it picks it up and it allocates it for you. And that has saved me hours and hours and hours of work. From that point on, I then move on to any emails that would have come in the evening before. And sometimes there's lots, sometimes there's less, but I will spend about half an hour to 45 minutes going through the emails that I had from the evening before. At around 6:45, I move to my desk and I update my desk calendar. On my desk calendar, for every single week and every single day, I have all the schools that are on that day and the coaches that are working at those various schools, and I fill them in. When I get home at the end of the day, if a coach was to miss a lesson for whatever reason, if they were sick or they had car issues, I make note of it on my desk calendar, and then I update their timesheet. So I keep a copy of all my coaches' timesheets on my desk, and I fill it in every single day, so that when they submit their timesheet at the end of the month, it should look very similar to the one that I have for them. And if they have claimed 5 lessons, but I know that they missed one here for this reason, then I can discuss those discrepancies with them. At 7 o'clock, I make tea for my fiance and I spend half an hour in bed with her. It's very important for me to not allow my work life to overtake my personal life. At 7:30, she leaves. I then come back into the office and I look at my daily tasks list. Now, my daily tasks list is something that is vitally important to how I run the business. Things happen every day. Schools need contracts signed. This child needs a reg back. Anything that happens throughout the day, I add it to my daily task list and I try and make sure it's achieved that day or at the very latest, the very next day. And the moment something happens, it goes onto that list to ensure that I cannot forget to do it. Right? From there, at 8 o'clock, I reply to any WhatsApps that I may have received the evening before and any other general admin that may come in. And then at 8:30, I leave for the day. I still work a fairly full coaching schedule, which is something I probably won't remove from my time anytime soon, because I still thoroughly enjoy the coaching side of it. If I have any gaps in my day, I'll pop around to schools to go and check on my coaches. And also this gives me an opportunity to chat to principals, parents, receptionists, teachers, whoever it is. And this is important for you to show up at your schools at least on a monthly basis. I try and do it every 2 weeks, try and pop into every single one of the schools that you have, just to discuss things in general, how things are going, anything that they've noticed that we want to change, anything that we must improve upon, but really just for them to see you, for them to see that you're still involved, that you're still there, that you're checking up on how things are going. Every single day I carve out an hour for myself to go to gym. Exercise is something that is very important to me because it's my way of relieving my stress and anxiety, and it's 1 hour that I get to spend with myself every single day. And because we're in the fitness industry, it's very important to me to also look the part, to keep an active and healthy lifestyle, because when you meet with schools and you meet with new people, they can look at you and say, he is obviously very serious about taking his health and his exercise very seriously, and this is someone who I believe can do the same for my children as well. So then I get home at around 3 o'clock. Between 3 and 4 o'clock, I reply to any emails that came in throughout the course of the day. So there's never that many, but I'll get through all of those. And then at 4 o'clock, I sit and I do outstanding payments. Between 4 and 5 o'clock, Monday to Friday, I do outstanding payments. And this was a lesson I learned the hard way. Last year in October and the year before that, I got to that month when I was getting ready for prize giving, and I had an absurd amount of money outstanding, and that left me with 4 to 6 weeks to try and recover as much of that money as possible.
46 weeks.
And basically what it left me in was, it left me with 2 of the worst months I've encountered in my life, of phoning parents all day trying to recover that money. So this year I made that change, and now I do the outstanding payments every single day. And what I do is I export a customer aged sheet from Swool. It's in the financial page, and that will show you how long parents have been overdue for. So 30 days, 60 days, 90 days, 120 days. And I'll start with the oldest ones first, and then I'll make my way down to the newest ones. And with parents that are outstanding, I let the kids attend up to 90 days, leading up to the 90th day. By this time, we've phoned them several times, we've emailed them, we've WhatsApped them. If we're still not getting any response, we will send a letter home in the bag with the child that has the account statement, the invoices that are outstanding, and a general letter stating what they owe, as well as an outstanding band that we put onto the child's wrist. We then give them 10 days post that. If the parents have not paid by that point, we then remove the child from the program. And then at 5 o'clock, my day switches off. From that point on, the evening is now mine. I know I've worked a full day. I'm very proud of what I've achieved. And now I spend time with my friends and family. 8:30, I'm in bed. I read my fiction book for an hour. 9:30, lights out. And I try and do that every single day of the week. On a Saturday, it's a little bit different. Obviously, I won't do all the coaching side of things, but I'll still make sure that I'm capturing payments, responding to emails, and I'll put a couple of hours in on a Saturday morning just to ensure that when I wake up on Monday, I don't have 2.5 days to catch up on.
Now that sounds like a lot of work. And if I was a franchisee and I heard that work schedule, I'd be like, man, this sounds hectic. But can you tell us a little bit about how you structure your team so that you can get away, have holidays, take breaks? I know that you love the Drakensberg. Tell us a little bit about that side of it.
I'm actually going to the Drakensberg tomorrow. So what I learned was, the first 2 years I did this all on my own, right? I did all the coaching, I did all the admin, I did everything on my own, and I understand that as a business owner, that is necessary when you start. But I really quickly began to realize how important it is to bring in the right people and empower my current staff members to have other roles in the business. So 2 of them have now moved into an admin and into a finance role, and they have taken over a lot of these duties. Not that they do it without me, we do it together, and doing it together saves you time. The whole reason I do this is purely for efficiency purposes, so I don't spend so much time focusing on just allocating payments, for example. I have these people involved now to try and streamline these processes and make these things happen a lot quicker. And that frees up my time to then invest in other areas of business growth. And that's where I'm heading toward now, is that these guys will take over that role so that I can spend more time focusing on growing the business and doing what I do best, and meeting with people and discussing the Tigerz program.
Yes, exactly. So you don't want to be working like a slave in your business. You can, You can, and some of the people have the attitude of, if I don't do it, it's not going to get done properly. You need to learn how to delegate tasks. You need to allow the people that you delegate the task to make a few mistakes. They are going to make a few mistakes. You need to keep your finger on the pulse. You can't step away completely. But when you have a nice team that knows exactly what they're doing, you can go away. We only work at Tumbling Tigerz in South Africa. We only work 40 weeks a year. So there's the 3-term school holidays, the 4-term school holidays, the public holidays, the Jewish holidays, obviously Christmas, Easter, all of those. So there's many, many gaps where the workload has decreased or even stopped for a short period, where you and your staff are able to get away and have a holiday and have a break. So most people are working 50, 52 weeks a year. We are working on a 40-week schedule. So making sure that you keep your mental health and making sure that you get away with your family, go on holidays. You don't want to be working to the bone all the time. You can, but it's not recommended. We want to be fun, happy people. A rested coach, a rested franchisee is a fun franchisee. So make sure that you are taking care of yourself and taking those breaks and not trying to do everything yourself. That's quite an important one. What systems, apps, or tools have you found helpful in running your business efficiently?
Okay, so I have mentioned a few of these. So far in this video, but I'm going to mention them again just to be clear. The most important one, well, not the most important, but the big one is the auto payment allocation system. I'm happy to make a video on this, but exporting the stuff from your bank statement and uploading it to Swool means it's 100% accurate. You cannot miss a payment that comes into your account. The time this saves in terms of the admin, when parents are phoning and sending overdue emails to you and you're now responding to it and looking for payments, it saves you hours upon hours upon hours of time. I cannot recommend this process enough. The next one is I make use of the calendar on Swool, but more so a calendar on my phone. So when a school books an event with me and they book a sports day, I immediately post it in my WhatsApp group. I get the various coaches to put their hands up. I then immediately add it to my calendar on my phone and I add their email address. And that will then email them the calendar invite, which will remind them a week before, the day before, and the day of. So they have no reason to have forgotten that event is on. And if by some chance they do forget, which has happened, I know from my side, I've done my bit. I have notified them ample times as to when that event is happening. So my calendar on my phone is full every single day with various things that I need reminding to do. It can go so far as this child needs a reg pack. I put the reminder on my phone for that day. So when I wake up, take so-and-so a reg pack at the school, and then I pack it next to my keys before I leave for the day. In terms of your royalty documents, this is something I do as I go through the month, every single month. So as soon as a parent makes a payment, let's say that payment went to Tumbling Tigerz head office, I immediately go and log that onto my royalty documents. If I make a refund, I do the same thing. I log it onto the exclusions list. Any transfers that happen, I do all of these as it happens in real time. So when it comes to the end of the month and I'm submitting my royalty documents, all I have to do is do my actual billing list. That is the only thing I have to do. I will double check. I'll search refund in my bank statement just to make sure I didn't miss any, but 9 times out of 10 I haven't missed anything. And that process takes me 15 to 20 minutes to now submit those documents, as opposed to sitting for 3 or 4 hours making sure that everything is correct.
Yeah, so getting stuff done on time. What Callum's talking about is the Swool system, is our customized system that was built for Tumbling Tigerz. It helps you in so many ways as a franchisee. We've had systems in the past where we might as well have had a hammer and a chisel, because it was shocking. The system that we've created, and we're constantly looking to upgrade our systems and add new things in to make sure that franchisees have the correct tools so that they can do billing documents, royalty documents, PAYE and payments to their staff, storing their contracts, and you name it. So those sort of tools are extremely valuable when running your business.
Well, I just wanted to mention one thing with Swool, which I think is very important.
Yeah.
So with Swool, what I do with the staff is I make sure that all of the booking slots for all the kids is 100% accurate. And the reason for this is very simple. When it comes to the end of the year and you're emailing all of your parents about prize givings, you need to make sure that all the kids in each given time slot are in the correct one. So when you email that information to them, they're not rocking up at 9 o'clock and their kid's lesson was at 8:30. So the whole way through the year, I'm constantly in contact with the coaches to make sure that the school is 100% up to date. So that when it comes to the end of year prize giving and you're emailing all the parents, I don't have to double and triple check that. I know it's 100% accurate, and I can just go through the process of notifying all the parents with regards to when their prize givings will be.
No, having the accurate information to your staff and for yourself, because you can't remember everything. You got 1,800 children. It's impossible. It's impossible. You're probably fielding, what, 50 to 100 phone calls a day?
It's a lot. Some days are worse, some days are better, but it's a lot. The phone never stops.
Yeah, the phone never stops because they need this information. So by having that information that gets sent to a parent with their welcome email, by making sure that everyone around you knows what day and time certain lessons are, they can help lighten the load by giving accurate information, if they've got access to it, to the parents, schools or teachers. So making sure that your system is up to date and the information is correct is extremely important to running your business, because otherwise you will be the go-to person. You will be the person that everybody phones and everybody comes to, and your phone will not stop ringing on a daily basis. When you're at the size that Callum is at the moment, your phone's naturally not going to stop ringing. 1,800 parents, if you've got 1% of them phoning you on a daily basis, that's it. So 18 phone calls, 18 phone calls a day minimum, and that's working on a 1%. You're probably going to be sitting on at least a 3%. So just make sure that all the information is accurate. Two apps that I like to use to help market my business and create quick posters and videos that we can add onto social media, or you can send it to a school, or even create a birthday party invite for one of your parents. The one is called Bazaart, Bazaart, which is a fantastic app. I think it's 114 Rand a month. You can download it, you can add all the different implements on your phone, it can remove background, it can add different fonts. It's a fantastic app for creating posters and small adverts for your business. And then the second one is CapCut. I found CapCut extremely valuable. It's got tons of templates, it's got music templates. It costs $8.99 a year, which is fantastic and very, very user-friendly, even for someone like me that's not extremely technology driven. So those are two apps that I would recommend running your business or any business. If you could go back and give yourself one piece of advice when you started your franchise, what would it be?
I think the most important thing would be to have strong systems in place and having the right people working for you. It's not always easy to find the right people, but with me having my daily routine and having the strong systems in place and having the right staff working for me, this is when I started to see the numbers really explode at every school. And I think it's worthwhile spending a little bit more money or investing the time and the money in searching for the right staff members and empowering them to help your business, but at the same time making sure that they are all following the same policies and procedures, so that we streamline the service that we're offering. Because it took me a couple of years to sort of build this routine and this line of thinking, and if I'd known it from the very beginning, I think I'd be far ahead of where I am right now. And I just think that having the right people, the right systems, and the right policies in place is absolutely key from the very beginning to ensuring that your franchise has every possible opportunity to grow in the way that you want it to.
Brilliant. And that brings me back to that Richard Branson thing of making sure that your team understands and shares your crystal clear vision of what you would like for your business. Because if they understand the importance of these policies and procedures and all of these systems that we use to ensure that we give a great service, because often a franchisee will have all the documents, will have all the information, but they don't bother teaching their team why it's important. They make their team sign the documents, they give the documents to their team, but they don't ensure that their team fully understands the impact of not following these systems or following these documents can result. So to make sure that your team is 100% on board with you, I think is fantastic advice. And this is something that you will learn along the way. If you have not run staff before, if you have not had a team below you before that you're in charge of leading, it's not something that comes naturally to most. So taking these steps and listening to the advice that you're receiving today, it's invaluable information. You need to make sure that you are taking notes of this and, more importantly, measuring it putting it into practice and seeing how it works for you. That's important. Of Vusi Timbuwaya.
Yeah, that was a great day.
That was a great day. We met Vusi. Okay, finally, I love this one because I'm a bit of a dreamer, and I like to create visions for the company that people laugh at. If they're not laughing at your visions, they're not big enough. So finally, what's your wildest dream or goal for your Tumbling Tigerz business in the next 5 years?
So in the next 5 years, what I really would like to achieve is to have a self-sustaining franchise, of one where if I were to step away from it, a business is still going to grow. I want to have a team, as I said earlier, who shares the same vision, the same goals, who are all working toward the same point. I want to have that in place so that if I was to step away, that it would still continue to grow on its own. And this is something that Daniel said to me in his kitchen a couple of years ago, that the sign of a really great entrepreneur is one whose business grows without them. And I'm not saying I'm going to step out, I will never do that, but I want to be able to see the point where everything, that all the systems and things that I've put into place, that my staff are now carrying those forward, and it's benefiting everyone. And the motto that I run my business by is that my staff don't work for me, they work with me, and it's all for the benefit of everyone involved. And if we all are aligned with the same vision, everyone is going to reap the rewards.
It's the first step is, can your business run without you? But when you're really, really good, can your business grow without you?
That was what he said.
And that is something that we should all strive to, not so that we can all be lazy and go sit on the beach and eat cake all day. It's a sign that you have placed responsibility on the people below you. You've shown them the value. They are receiving value from the business, and they're adding value to your customers, all without you being there, because they understand the vision that you have for your business. They understand the importance of it, and they bleed for it. They bleed for the brand. When something treats you right, you treat it right. So treat your business right. And thank you very much for watching our podcast today. Yeah, thank you, guys. Thanks for believing in Tigerz.
Thanks,
and
man.
I hope you guys all gained some value from this video. And Viva Tigerz! Woo!
Cool.